Hey everybody, JJ here. Welcome back for another Wednesday afternoon of Zoom networking. It's Wednesday in California afternoon. It's 3 p.m., 6 o'clock on the East Coast. Today's guest speaker, really good friend of mine. I really like this guy. We've had a chance to meet in person. We've gone to a Dodger game together. It's about relationships. Real estate's about relationships. And one of the biggest joys that I've had are some of the personal relationships I've made. And I think the world of this guy. Our guest speaker is Ken Doyle today. Ken and I had met from another real estate education program. Now we're both in sub 2 with Pace Morby. And as you guys know, Pace Morby has the premier real estate education program in the country. If you haven't heard of Pace, if you haven't heard of sub 2, you're probably living under a rock. It's just the way that goes. Great people there, great students, and it's a great program. And our guest speaker today is no exception. Our guest speaker today is my good friend, Ken Doyle. Ken, how you doing today, my friend?
Doing awesome. Thank you very much. Nice intro. I love that.
Oh, brother, well deserved, well earned, man. So how about that Dodger game we went to a while ago, huh?
You know, it was the first and only game that I've been to this year. So I thank you for getting me out of the house, out of working and out to a game because I love baseball.
Yeah. And Dodger Stadium is one of the iconic stadiums in the league.
Yep.
So you and I have known one of a couple of years, but let me ask, are you originally from Southern California? What are you from another part of the country originally?
I am a native Californian, native Southern Californian, my entire life.
I have to ask, where'd you go to high school?
Glendora High.
Okay, I went to Hollywood High School, believe it or not. Well, the Hollywood sign behind me in the photo here. But yeah, I'm familiar with Glendora.
I started out in the big city of Barstow and then worked my way to San Bernardino, Glendora, and then out to the valley now. My wife and I, Crystal, on here. We're out in Ventura County now, where it's a little bit more of the suburbs. But yeah.
There you go. So let me ask you, my friend, what did you do before you became a real estate investor? What was your original gig, or have you done a number of things? What's a little bit about Ken Doyle?
I've done a number of things. I mean, I started out going to college thinking that I'm going to be a sports medicine doctor because I did 16 years of baseball and stuff, had a medical injury. So it kicked me out of actually playing. I was thinking of going pro into baseball. So I went into the medical field to go into sports medicine, ran across a few topics, instructors or teachers that, we didn't see eye to eye. I changed my degree, went into clinical psych, did psychology as a therapist for a while, and then ended up in the insurance arena, employee benefits, because I needed to put food on the table and stuff. So I did 37 years in employee benefits. Most of it is executive leadership, sales, and marketing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what point did you transition into real estate? I think, if I understand correctly, you didn't get into sub 2 right away, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
What got you into real estate?
Kind of house hacking. My wife and I, we'd pick up houses and we'd do it. We had a good friend out in the Thousand Oaks area who was a GC, and we would house hack. We started that route on our own places. Then, as you know, kind of went into the fortune builders arena to figure out how do we do this to truly make money, because we did it as a passion. We loved it. We loved what we were doing. And it was kind of like just learning on the fly as we go. And then we went full bore into fortune builders, really understood the process of how do you fix and flip a house and turn it around. And, we had some great years there when that was really good. That's when I started thinking, you know what, my W-2 job is kind of boring. After 37 years in the insurance arena, I was just like, you know what? And I'm not going to get into it now. I'm sure many of you, if you've stepped out of a W-2 job, you understand that, you know what? You want a little bit more freedom. You want more from life, et cetera. And that is when, I started getting into the mentorship programs, went through a couple of them, did that, and started to draw a line in the sand as to I'm stepping out of the corporate world at this time.
There you go.
It was a little over a year ago when I realized that there was a little bit more to just fixing and flipping or wholesaling a house. my wife, Crystal, turned me on to this guy that she ran across named Pace Morby. I started listening to him and it just like blew my mind, opened my mind to there's so many other things there. So yeah, got into sub two a little over a year ago and it's been freaking gung ho since.
Yeah, just a great program. Let me ask you a little bit about yourself, some of your interests. Do you like to travel? Do you have pets? What do Crystal and do you guys do for fun?
Great question. Well, interests as a kid, I was one of those kids that was small. I used to always get picked on. So I started boxing very young and then went into martial arts. And I did about 32 years of martial arts. Fifth degree black belt in Hapkido. I had about 3 studios at one time. When I was moonlighting, running studios, had instructors. That was my first step into the entrepreneurial world. Love martial arts, everything about it. Like I said, I love sports, specifically baseball. I love scuba diving. Been diving since about 1989, dive master. Wow. And coupling the diving with travel, because Crystal's not a diver, but she loves to go to nice places, and we kind of have to share. One trip might be to Europe. The next trip is going to be into Maldives.
To go diving.
So, love scuba diving. That's my happy place. 60 feet or greater, where I don't have a cell phone and the land mermaid. And no one's going to be able to get a hold of me. I mean, this one trip I took her on, real quick story here. We went to Maldives and we were on a liveaboard for 14 days. She realized that even though the water was glass, the boat still moves. So it was kind of 14 days of pain for her, and I was in paradise. I mean, I'm diving 4 to 5 dives every single day for 14 days. We actually got off once on this one little small, I wouldn't even call it an island. She jumps on, she's doing some work at a little internet cafe and stuff, and then had to jump back on the boat. But yeah, love to see the world, love culture, love to experience history, everything about it.
Crystal got a little comment in the chat. Crystal's a land mermaid. That was the worst week of her life. Oh my gosh.
But
Crystal,
she did like it after the trip. We stayed at this resort, had our own place right on the beach, and spent the last part of our trip, about a week there, and she loved that.
I bet she did. I bet she did.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's get into our topic today, brother. What a little bit of a preface. What are you be talking about today?
You know, really, when you asked me to come on and speak, and I started thinking about what can I deliver of value, because I have a lot of experience from over the years with the corporate world, and I thought, you know what? I think one of the key things for our business to run is how do you build systems and processes? Being an entrepreneur, it is all about that. So, you know, this presentation is really about starting a business, or if you're into your business, because I'm going to touch high level stuff and I'm going to go deep in some areas. How do you improve the process so that you can move from the technician, the manager, up to that entrepreneur, where in the beginning you're wearing all hats, right? But you want to be able to step back from it, for most of us at least, and drive that passive income. And I'm going to be talking about what are the things you need to do. What are the processes? I go into the 4 W's today, or the 5 W's, and I'm going to talk about those key things and how, giving examples of what you need to be thinking about. So what I want to talk about today, and here's one thing I want to challenge you guys. When you go into any kind of a meeting, any kind of a Zoom meeting like this, if you go to conferences, write down a couple things if you haven't already. What do you want as 1, 2, or 3 takeaways out of this meeting? Why are you sitting here? There's got to be at least 3 things. What I'm going to talk about will be geared to real estate, but it can apply to any kind of a business. It doesn't really matter. The principles are universal. So we talked about, you know, kind of our background, my background and stuff like that. But I will say this, as I have been going through this, through the different mentorship programs, real estate has been a journey, more so than when I said I'm going to go out and open up a martial arts studio. I mean, I'd had years of training, flip it on. I wish I had training on running a business. How do you make this successful? And, you know, how do you take this to the next level? And that is key. So I encourage you as you go through, and JJ, If people are throwing in questions on something I'm talking about, throw them out there to me. I'm going to start with the 5 W's. Typically, they start with a what, but I like to start with a why. And, really, when you think about it, this is framing your roadmap, where you want to be. So if you look at one point is A, that's your starting point. Whether it is you're 3 weeks into real estate and you're just now trying to figure out what do I need to do and how do I do it? Am I drinking from that fire hose? And then, or you could be, I've been into this thing 2 years and still, and I just need to hone my business in. Whatever A is your starting point. B is kind of like, what do you want out of it? That is your what. That's where you're going. That is, what does success look like over there? And what is, what are the goals that you want out of this? So you have A, you have B, but what connects A and B is your why. And I say, that's what I'm going to get into and talk about. What is that passion? What gets you up in the morning and gets you on the phone if you're dialing for dollars, talking to sellers, whatever, talking to buyers? That's the why that bridges the two. In between that are 3 key points that every business needs to be thinking about. And that is your how, your who, and your when. How, that's the strategies and the tactics. How are you going to make this happen? Who, JJ talks about this all the time. And sometimes you say it's not who, it's not how, it's who, right? If you don't have the superpower to be that closer, who do I need to bring in to be a closer for me? If I don't have the superpower to structure a strategy, who can I partner with? Who can I JV with that knows how to do that? It's the people that are going to make your business work. And then the last part is the when. Everything needs to have a line in the sand. When is this going to happen? And what is going to tell you if you were successful? That being metrics. Diagram right here is basically what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to dive down into specific examples on certain things as we go through. But this is the genesis of what this presentation is about, the 5 W's. So when you think about this, and again, I encourage you, now that you kind of know the framework as to what I'm talking about, what is it that you want to take away today? What is it you're going to ask me at the end, specifically on a question? But ask yourself your passion. What drives you every single day? As you build this out, your why may come right away. You may be one of those individuals that get it. Hey, this is why I do it. Achieving goals does not equal happiness. It's really, how do I move forward? And we'll get into that. So, and as you get into the goals, you can say a goal of mine might be, I want to get closer to financial freedom. Is that a goal? Nah, it's kind of a wish. It doesn't have anything specific around it. I want to be having passive income of $80,000 or more every single month. That's a goal. I can measure it. I know exactly where it's coming from. Passion or a purpose might be, I want to be able to take a trip anytime I want, anywhere I want, flying on a private jet if I want. That's what's driving me. So I need to be hitting these goals because I want to kind of go that route. Think about that as we build it out. Now, there's 2 key things that will prevent you from really answering the question, what is my passion or what is my purpose? Number 1 is certainty. And how well you can deal with these 1 and 2 that we're going to talk about will determine how successful you will be as we move forward. So certainty, or basically, the routines that help us conserve mental energy and staying in our comfort zone. Having a W-2 job. Why do you stay there? Maybe it might be an unfulfilling job. You hate your job. You go to work, Monday through Friday. It's 8 to 5. You're checking in. Or maybe it's an unhealthy relationship. Why do you stay there? Because of the fear that, hey, if I left my W-2 job, I don't have that paycheck every other week. I don't know what I'm going to do to drive the income. That's one thing that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, and that's why I say, so you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to be able to control that number 1 thing, certainty. And how do you plan your day to overcome that? Number two comes down to our limiting beliefs. Everybody has them all the time. It could be from stepping out on a stage with 500 to 1,000 people there, and your belief is, I hope I don't say the wrong thing, or I hope I don't have stage fright or forget, right? Some people might be able to walk out there. Some people have that limiting belief about, going in to go out and door knock. I don't want to knock on somebody's door. How do I know who's going to open it, right? Well, how do you get over that? How do you control the gray matter in between your two ears? Think about how many friends that you have when you go to a high school reunion. I noticed this in probably not my first one, probably the second or third one that I went to. I'm not going to tell you how many I've been to, but go in there, and so many of these folks are still the same friends. And when you go there, they're all talking about how it was back in our high school years and stuff, which is okay to reminisce on occasion. But I mean, I'm going to these things like, what are you doing now? How do we network? How do we grow our business? How can we work together? How can you be a private money lender for me? Or how can I do the same thing for you, right? And most of those folks are like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's your circle of influence. So think about what you feed your mind is exactly how you're going to be. So we get into it and say, how do we find our purpose? The key question, if you haven't started on it, and it is a combination of two things, the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. And it is a balance between those two. Achievement and fulfillment is purpose. What do I want to achieve, and how is that going to make me feel or make other people feel that I'm participating with? To succeed in finding your purpose, you must master those two things. Again, let me repeat, achievement and fulfillment. That is the road to happiness when you're going through it. You can't be all achievement. Every day, that person who says, I have a to-do list of 10 things, checking the box, man, I have achieved all 10 things today. Well, let me ask you this. Is it achievement that is growing, that is showing progress, or is it just checking the box that you got them done? Is it doing anything for your business? So let me show you kind of where I started. And this is from one of the earlier mentorship programs. Day one, they said, come out and write down your purpose. And I'm sitting there going, I haven't thought about it before, really. What is my purpose? I've had a corporate job. I haven't even thought about this. All right, if I do step out of my corporate world, what do I want to be? And as you can see from that list, this was actually in 2019, I put this list together, and in January I said, okay, here's my purpose. It's basically a list of goals. And that's where I started. And I will say this, that's okay. And if that's where you have to start, that's okay. It's a starting point. One thing that you cannot buy or sell is what? Time. Time is the only resource that you can't get back. So I say that because don't spend hours and hours and hours and hours on this. Write it down, take a break, walk away, come back a week, look at it again, maybe tweak it a little bit. This will definitely evolve. As I went into the next year, you can see how this is now turning a little bit more into a purpose. How did it get here? Number one thing, networking. Talking to people. There's this book out there called The Question Behind the Question. So as you do this, and as I kind of went through, it was about 6 months, I kind of tweaked that first one of the goals, started writing. And by the time I got 12 months around, I was sitting on a rock, as I like to call it. I'd take the time, I would look at it and say, how is this going to evolve? And I would start scratching it out and rewriting it. Now it's turning more into that vision of what I want. You can read a little bit more emotion into this than just, bam, I want this, 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 and this, the goals. I tell you this, when I look at this, this is what inspires me and motivates me to do just one more thing that day, to push just a little bit harder. and to maintain that momentum to go a little bit further, because not like some people that may have started this when you're 30, 35. I wish I did, because I would be in a whole different world now if I did that. If you are, more power to you. Stay on that track. I have a more limited time as to when I want to accomplish this, and it's 5 years. I want to be able to be in this place in 5 years. And that fire burns. I know what I need to be doing, and I know how to get there. So allow yours to be the same, allow it to evolve, and just keep tweaking it. One thing that I had a mentor once tell me was journal. Journal your thoughts. Write it down. A great book on this that I read even later on and really honing in how you start journaling. It was by Keith Cunningham. I don't know if anybody's read it. It's called The Road to Less Stupid. And it's about running a business. It's a great book. The Road Less Stupid, excuse me. Now we walk into the second W, basically your goals. What does success look like for you? When I started out, our goals is funny. I looked at it and said, I want to be able to, flip at least 15 to 20 houses per year. I want to be doing like 26 wholesales and stuff. You ask me that now, especially where the market is, I don't know if I want to flip one house. I'll wholesale all day long. I'll buy and hold, but I don't know if I want to get into flipping because of all the things going on. So think about your strategy, your roadmap is maybe 6 months. What do you want to accomplish in the next 6 months or 90 days even? As you get into the practice, it'll get easier, and you can maybe push it out to 6 months to 12 months. The more you do it, but take it a little bit at a time. If you're starting out in real estate, if you jumped into sub 2, those of you who are new, I'm sure you realize going through PACE's modules is like drinking from a fire hose, unless you've been exposed to it before. That's how I felt in the first mentorship when I knew nothing about real estate. I was drinking from a fire hose just on flipping. And then I went to PACE's and I'm like, holy crap, he just 10x'd that on me. And thinking about, there's like 26 different ways to do creative deals. And it was just mind blowing, right? You have to step back and just say, okay, what do I want to do in the next 90 days? I want to be able to have creative conversations with sellers on a seller finance and a sub 2. See how you can provide something to them, and they will be able to say, hey, I want you to do X, Y, and Z, whatever. It might be just X, so that you're learning and absorbing it. Because you're going to probably walk in and say, all right, I'm going to start a business and I want to be all acquisitions. For those of you who've been here, you understand acquisition. So is that meaning that I'm creating an entire marketing department? I'm going to go out and skip trace. I'm going to be able to do the research in various markets as to what kind of leads that I want to go after. Am I going to do the calls myself? Am I going to bring on a VA team? Short story. We brought on a VA a little over almost 2 years ago. Our first VA that we brought on, because we were told to go get a VA so they can do the calls and you can just close the leads. Went out, got the VA, boom, paying for it. Jenny was great. She's doing this. And, it's gone 30 days. All right, when am I going to get my first lead, et cetera? I'm going after that. 60 days, no leads coming in. Then I got a lead here. I got a lead there. But after about 6 months, I probably had 4 leads. And I'm like, this VA thing doesn't work. So we canceled the VA. Then after I started talking to some people that had VAs that it worked well, I started asking them the questions. What do you do? How do you get your team to be driving all of this? It's about the communication. It's about understanding what leads you going after, how you're working with them on the scripts. Now, our VAs, we have 4 of them involved. We have daily stand-ups Monday through Friday, 15, 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes that we're doing role plays every single day. We're connecting with them. We're training with them. And now, we're trying to push at an average of 20 leads per week coming through the pipeline. It certainly didn't happen that way the first time. I thought VAs were useless. Well, you can't just hand the baton off and expect it to work. because I didn't even know how it was really supposed to work until I jumped back into it, documented everything, built the process out, looked at my CRM, brought them into the process of the CRM and scripted everything. Here is what your role looks like. Here's what you're going to say. We even tweak our script based on daily dials and stuff from what people are saying on those calls. Like, I like how they opened it up. I like how they get right to, hey, my name's Ken. Mike, how you doing today? I wanted to talk to you about 123 Main Street. Not, hi, my name's Ken. Do you mind if I ask you if you're selling your house on 123 Main Street? It's just like, you're the 15th caller, click. So, I mean, it's just about polishing the system. So what is success and what defines it? So there's really 3 hats that you will wear as you run a business. Number 1, the entrepreneur. And really, I'll get into it in a second. There's 2 pieces in the entrepreneur as well. Number 2 is a manager. And number 3 is the technician. And if you're starting your business, I guarantee you'll probably be wearing all 3, unless you have partners that you're starting a business with and you can divide and conquer. But the entrepreneur provides the vision, the creativity, and the energy to keep the business running. So don't rush to remove the hat and say, I want to jump from the technician. A week later, I want to be that entrepreneur. I wish it happened that quickly. It doesn't. It takes time. You need to look at your roadmap and say, how do I do this in a sequence that will flow? You need to have those systems in place, and systems are key. There's two types of systems you can be thinking about. A system can be as simple as a human checklist. I'm going out to a rehab. I'm walking a property. Check, check, check. This is what I need to have done. Or a system can be automated like a CRM with workflows. The VA calls a seller. A lead sheet goes into my CRM. It's generating emails going out. Thank you, caller, for that, blah, blah, blah. It has an email follow-up a day or so later. You're going to be getting a call from, et cetera, et cetera. That is more of an automated workflow. So this consistency, this focus, for if you want consistency to take place, repeatable results with predictable outcomes, you need to build an instrument for success that's sustainable and improve it and maintain it to keep the momentum going. I tell you that now. Here's a slide out of a strategy doc when we first started. It's a pyramid, and there are 3 key buckets there. Our vision for excellence. Number 1, it all starts with a foundation, just like a house. With a weak foundation, that house falls down. With a weak foundation in your business, it doesn't run. And I have a $sign there saying the foundation is you need to be generating revenue out of that business on a regular basis. You go to the next level, which is once the revenue's coming in, you're doing some deals. All right, let's hone it in. Let's look at the KPIs. What's the process? What's my lead to sales conversions and stuff? Start looking at some of those KPIs as we go into it. And then I say success. Success is when that machine is running, you then take a look at how do I 10X it? How can I scale that? Maybe it's going from when we started in a specific area of California, how do I get that to go outside of California? How do I go national? What are some markets that I want to jump into? And that's how we get to the how. How gets into the weeds. This is your strategy. These are your tactics. This is where the rubber hits the road. In this section on how, I'm going to talk about the strategy. I'm going to break it into some goals. We're going to talk about creating action items and how to execute with focus and consistency. So now I'm going to get a little deeper into the weeds, and I'm going to give you some things that you can take away and actually use and put into place. So this is kind of a few pieces out of about a 20-page document on a strategy. And again, my strategy documents didn't look this pretty, although I did have a lot of practice in the corporate world doing this. They got more honed in every year we did it and got a little bit more specific in everything in here. But it's breaking your strategy up into the pieces. Some of the stuff I throw away. I mean, I don't really take a look at SWOT analysis anymore. I need to know markets. I need to understand the markets we're going into and what changes of interest rates and stuff. How's that going to impact a red state versus a blue state or a purple state or whatever it might be. but it's kind of building that roadmap out and the 7 basic elements of a strategic plan. You need to have your vision, your purpose in there, your mission. SWOT analysis, I always tweak that and say, okay, what's our market analysis? Where are we going? What markets are we going into? Down to the city, down to the zip codes. Where do you want to target? What are some of your core values? Core values are critical, especially if you bring other people into your organization. What is important to you? Integrity, authenticity, respect, things like that. So what are some of those core values? Obviously, laying out your goals and the action plans. And how do you track it, right? So the first piece of this, when you lay out your goals and like I said, look at it as at the most, maybe, unless you've been doing this for a while, start with 6 months. And then you take 6 months and you break it into an RPM, 90 days. Even 90 days is good to start with. RPM comes from Tony Robbins, which is a rapid massive planning and stuff like that. And you break it into 3 areas: your purpose, your result, and your action items, your tactics. How are you going to get those results? 3 things. This is a 90-day plan. Some of the things that I was looking to do back whenever this was on this action plan, I forget, back with our other company of King and Cradle, which is now Dandelion Homes, if you'd noticed that. But it was, really going. I spent like 5 years of coaching with Tony Robbins and team and stuff like that. It really honed in. How do I stay focused on a lot of this? Write this stuff down. And this is really, again, what's driving you? What is the result I want? So to get, for example, we will have a 3-year wealth and tax strategy complete in 90 days. So my action plan is, what does that mean? What does that even look like? And I break out that specific result down into specific things to get to that piece of it. I then take the 90 days and I break it into a 30-day. They say it's so much easier to look at things in a small bite. So the 90-day becomes 30 days. It's a heck of a lot more manageable out of your RPM. And you break this down just like you did before. So your 90-day plan, you have your first 30 days, your second 30 days, your third 30 days, all 3 90 days. So if I were starting it in October, this will have an October date on it. I'll have a November date and a December date, which is my 90-day goals and strategy that I'm trying to achieve. Make sense? I then take the 30 days and I go even a little bit more micro on it. And this is called time blocking. I live by my calendar. So I take a lot of these pieces and I will block them out on my calendar as I go through it. Actually, I just put Monday through Friday. Actually, it does go Monday through Sunday because that's just how I am. Sometimes I'll take breaks, but I don't look at it that way. I don't live for the weekend. You'll see it's very strategic as to going through what am I doing on specific times. And you're taking those action items on your 30 days and I block it into week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. I will tell you one thing. If you look at it this route, number 1, you will be very focused. If you were to say, you know what, if I could knock out 1 to 3 results, and just say 1, if you knocked out 1 productive result every day, if you only worked Monday through Friday, that's 5 key results that you're doing on a weekly basis. Trust me, that can be powerful. As a result is something that's moving the needle, not a result meaning I ran to the grocery store and picked up the groceries. No, it's a matter of I need to lay out the script for my cold caller or for me. What am I going to say if I'm calling absentee owners, tired landlords? What's my script going to sound like? How do I get them from point A to point B, right? That would be a result. I need to go pull a list. Pre-foreclosures in some specific areas that I'm going to then skip trace and call on, right? That would be specific results that I'm breaking it down. So think about it. If you were doing just one per day, that's 5 a week. If you're like me, and I typically will work 7 days a week, just fluctuates. I don't look at it as work because it's what I love to do. If I were able to knock out 7, just 5 things per week, that's 20 results you've nailed in a month. I guarantee you, your business will be moving. So think of this. Focus and consistency is everything. Block out the time to do your tasks. Also block out the time to feed your mind. Feeding your mind could be, I'm blocking out time to be calling JJ. I want to see if I can set up a call with Pace. It's about this specific thing, and it's going to be 15 to 20 minutes. I want to have a specific conversation around X. Feed your mind. It might be picking up a book, or listening to an audio tape, or watching a podcast. Make sure you take at least 20 minutes a day. Feed your mind. Keep it growing. Keep it stimulating. Take the time to sit down and journal. I look at it as number one, there's 2 steps to journaling. One, I'm sitting on the rock and I'm thinking about stuff, whether it be a specific question that I write down and I start trying to answer, hey, I need to solve this problem with my business. And I'm going to just be jotting down things on it like, hey, here's an idea. Here's what I could do. Here's what I could do. And then I'll block out time to say, I got all these ideas written down over here. Let me really drill into it and kind of put a plan around it. That's how you get it. And that's how this thing keeps moving. Make it a habit. Now, the who, getting towards the end here. And I like what Warren Buffett said, and I've heard this one for years. If you want to soar like an eagle in your life, you can't be flocking with turkeys. Who is your circle of influence? Who's pushing you? Who's that accountability partner? Who's on your board of directors that keeps you in check? It could be a business partner. It could be somebody in this network that you talk about and say, hey, here's some of the goals. They keep you in check. Set it up where you're talking to them on a weekly basis. Hey, I want to lay this out. Here's what I'm going to do. When you say it and you tell somebody, share it with them. The next week you have that call, I bet you're going to feel a little compelled to, I got to get some of this done. Otherwise, they're going to think I'm a flake. So think about that. Building out who is in your network. When people talk to me and say, hey, I'd love to be your friend, on Facebook. Buddy, love you dearly, but I'm not looking for friends. I got enough friends in my life. I got my wife. I got other people like that. If I need somebody to talk to as a friend, I have them. I'm looking for business partners. That's what I want to spend the time with, even if it's 15 minutes in a week, or if you're able to spend 30 minutes with them in a week to really drill into certain things. I want like-minded people that are looking to do something beyond what I've even thought about is possible, right? To push me. Great book by Dan Sullivan. Who, not how. If I can't get something done over here, who can I bring in to make it happen for me? Who can I partner with? Who can I get some of the information out of them on how did they make this happen, or who could I go to? Networking is key. I look at it as, your network is your net worth. How to find the right person. There's a lot of ways to go out there and do it. There's a lot of groups online. There's mentorship programs. The community we have in Sub 2. Frickin' the best community I've seen out there, hands down. And that's where so many of the people that I network in with are from Sub 2. Some of them come from Fortune Builders, but I'd say 99% of them come from Sub 2. They're great people out there. So, one thing that I picked up from Pace Morby when I first met him over at Mastermind was if you're looking to gain insight from someone, think about and do your homework on what could I bring to the table to offer them? Because you can't say, I don't know what I can offer you. I have nothing to offer you. Trust me, you need to think a little harder. There's something that you can offer them. Think about it. or ask them, hey, I'm really good at X, Y, and Z. Can I share some of my time so that I can, share some of your time? Can I give you something in return? Come to the table with something. Don't just try to take. And when you're networking with people, again, I know this is tough and it's that limiting belief mindset, but focus on the result, not so much on the cost. Unless it's completely, it's $1 million to do that. I don't have $1 million right now, but I'm talking about realistic things. If you are in this penny foolish mindset, your business will suffer. Last piece. The last W is when. Last but not least of the 5. So you got a lot of things written down now on your A to B, what you want, why you're doing it, and some of the tactical things of how you're putting it together. Well, if you don't have any deadlines and measurements, there's no action, right? And without action, they're just going to stay dreams. We don't want that to happen. We want to put things in action order. So all results are based on an action. You need to draw a line in the sand. This has to happen by this time. Is it the end of the world if you miss it by a few days? No. Don't always miss all your goals. That's not a good thing. But if you miss one here and there, but you're still, okay, it took me a couple days later, think about it when you're sitting on a rock. Why did it take me longer? Did I procrastinate or was it harder than I expected? Results are based on action. Action is what drives progress. Progress is what feeds growth. Think about that. One resource you cannot buy, borrow, or steal is what? Time. Use it wisely. Think about how you are spending that time on a rock. And then as you go through the when, you need to be thinking about what are my timelines? What are my milestones? Are there any business intelligence keys that I need to be looking at? Market shifts, things like that. What's going to impact my business? What are some of the KPIs, key performance indicators that I need to be measuring? How many leads do I want a week? Am I getting leads? Are they qualified leads? Are these leads converting, et cetera, et cetera? So you can get into the minutia about it. But running a business is just like a sports game. We started out talking about sports. I love baseball. I love a lot of other sports, but whether you're playing baseball, football, it really doesn't matter. Any sports game out there, do you see them go out on the field and people show up at Dodger Stadium and they just do what they want? Hell no. There's a scoreboard. There's referees. There's time involved. There's all these things that break down. If you're going to a football field, there's first downs. A first down is very specific. You have to go 10 yards, take the ball 10 yards to get a first down. That's a KPI. A base hit. You successfully need to get to first base before they throw you out. That's a KPI. A 3-point shot in basketball behind this line, through the hoop. That's a KPI. So points are, kept in sports because that's how you win and lose. I'm sorry. There's really not a lot in between. You're a winner or you're a loser. Otherwise, your business is just on the verge of losing. Think about the metrics you're going to be bringing into it. Don't overanalyze it. Don't think about 20 KPIs that you need to have. Just think about 1 or 2 in the beginning. 6 months later, maybe you bring in a couple more. Then you get into some of the basics. I talked about cost per leads, cost per sale, cost per, how many leads for the week. You want to get a little bit more advanced. Maybe you're talking about commercial deals. I need to understand, what's the NOI? How do I do the math on that? What are cap rates? How do I calculate an IRR or cash flow on a deal to see if this is going to actually pass the muster? So that is some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about in this. Here's some of my information. I encourage you to reach out to me anytime you'd like. Want to be an entrepreneur? You want to run a business? It needs to have a process, and it starts with your purpose. Why are you doing this? Build it over time, 30, 60, 90. Once you go through it, then you can start building a 6, 12-month plan. It will evolve over time, and that's okay. last thing I will leave you with is talk to people. Keep talking to people. You will learn so much from a lot of folks. And with that, I'm going to close it.
Ken, awesome presentation, my friend. Great gold nuggets there. We're going to jump to the breakout rooms here in a minute, but before we do, and you touched on a couple of these things in your presentation. My group's a networking group, and it's about building relationships. And you did touch on it, but I wanted to ask you again, for the new investor or the seasoned investor, what do you think the role is, the importance of networking and possibly joining a group maybe similar to the one that we have here?
Doesn't matter what level you're at, the quality of the question will change, and what you're talking to people about and how you're specifically going to find certain folks to talk to. You know, I might understand that, hey, Marina does this, this, and this. Well, I want to ask her a little bit more about that because that's a gap in my business. Or if I want to talk to, you know, Dallas Lucas about cold calling and what's successful for him, then the type of quality of your question will change based on who you talk to. So as a beginner, it's a matter of just getting to understand people, know what their superpower is or what they focus on in networking, taking the notes, getting in there, and just starting. You got to start somewhere.
Great. And I guess, touching on here with our group, our networking group, we're trying to create a platform for bringing people together and allowing commonality, kind of a safe zone, but an educational platform as well. Other than just generically networking, would you recommend something like the group that we have here, my networking group, to a new investor?
100%. 100%, because I can guarantee you that the folks in here, and I know your group is much larger than that even, when you get into some of these, when you're talking online and stuff like that, it's a matter of finding out who they are, what they do, what's their specialty. And there's a wealth of knowledge, even with, was it 4 by 6, 20 folks sitting in here, basically 24 folks, excuse me, and this right here, 24 different ideas on certain things that you could take away 1, 2, or 3 key nuggets.
Cool, my friend. So we're going to jump off to the breakout rooms. If you guys are watching the video right now on YouTube, please like Ken's presentation. Please put some comments down below in the chat. If you guys are on the call, look for some of the videos. When you guys are watching the videos, please like whatever video you're watching, and please feel free to put a comment. That's going to obviously help our YouTube channel. But if you're on the call, hang tight. We're going to go to the breakout rooms. And those of you that are watching on YouTube, please come back for more. We got more great speakers coming up in the future. And on behalf of Ken and myself, thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys soon. Over and out.